Well, good morning. We're continuing on our 200 drawing prompt book. Today we're up to drawing prompt 144, which is Centipede. Here's our drawing for today. We draw a centipede and also a little sketch here of a millipede. Because sometimes they get mixed up. All right, if you want to see how we did it, stay tuned. Well, today we're going to draw that centipede. It's kind of hard to talk about centipedes without first talking about their cousins. They're in the same, what's called a subphylum. It's a class of animals. They're both what you call arthropods, and they're very similar, and people get them confused. But this is a millipede. And this is a centipede. So I drew a little sketch here of a millipede because I feel like we're leaving it out. Well, let's get started here. First thing with our centipede is a centipede has these long, slender antennae. The millipede has these short club-like antennae. So that's a dead giveaway right there. The centipede has a distinct head. And you can't see it here, but underneath his head, down in his jaw area, he has venomous fangs. All centipedes are venomous, not to sting vertebrates like us, but to sting invertebrates like insects, because that's what they eat. The centipede, or the millipede, doesn't have fangs. Here's the eyes right here. Now, these aren't eyes like we would know eyes. Some centipedes and millipedes don't have eyes at all. They basically just will distinguish light from dark. They don't even distinguish shapes. They have these long bodies with these different sections. On a millipede, each section has two. On a millipede, each section has two legs coming out of it. Two pairs of legs, two on this side and then two on this other side. But on the centipede, there's only one leg coming out of each section. That's another giveaway. Also, the cross-sectional area is different between the two. The centipede is flattened and spread out, and the legs, as you can see here, these legs come out the sides. Which make the centipede a much faster runner. The millipede, the legs come out of the bottom, and the body is more worm-like, it's round. Like I said, the centipede is carnivorous. It eats insects, and now if they're starving, they will eat vegetation, but they don't. That's not their normal fare. The millipede, on the other hand, eats mostly rotten vegetation. Farmers and gardeners really like them because, you know, they make good soil because they break down organic material like worms, like earthworms. Both millipedes and centipedes like dark, moist environment, leaf litter. You know, if you have a basement in your house, you can probably find them down in the basement, but you're going to have to really look. Because the defense for both of them really is they hide. They like dark. They're nocturnal. They like dark. Since they don't really have eyes to any degree, you know, they don't care about light. They don't care about being able to visualize things. That's the reason their eyes, they have eyes at all, is just so they can tell the difference between light and dark, because they don't, you know, they don't want to be in the light where they can be seen. You've probably seen, especially in the house. Well, if you ever lived, I've lived in the desert before, and there's a kind of millipede that kind of rolls up in a ball. Well, all millipedes, that's one of their defenses. They roll up into a ball, and they can also. Some millipedes will actually excrete a nasty smelling and tasting liquid as a defense also. But this centipede we're drawing right here, this is actually the Arizona red-headed centipede. I don't think I have the exact number of legs and stuff, but who knows, who cares? Each one of these body sections, have a hole on both sides. I don't know what they're called. They're called something like a spiralette or something. And insects have the same thing, and that's how air gets into the insect for respiration. Not a real efficient, respiration technique, but that's the reason insects can't get very big. And I mean, some of these centipedes get pretty big in places like, the Amazon or something, where there's actually some in the Amazon that can take on lizards and toads and birds, but they're not common. But there's a limit to the size insects and arthropods, arachnids and so forth can get because they don't have lungs. Which is the reason, when they find fossils of, huge dragonflies at 2 feet long and stuff, back from prehistoric days, that was when the Earth, it's when the Earth had a higher oxygen content, and the atmosphere is much heavier too, because oxygen is heavier than nitrogen, and the oxygen content was up around 30-35%, which is darn right dangerous now, but it allowed insects to get really, really big. And some land animals get pretty big too. There are thousands of species of both millipedes and centipedes. As a matter of fact, there's probably more species that haven't even been discovered than there have been that are discovered. They're just very, very common. And then we get down here to the tail. Another distinguishing characteristic of the centipede is in the final section. Right here we're drawn. It's got 2 modified legs that stick out the back here. They don't function as legs. They actually they're kind of a defensive function. Give the thing kind of a sadistic look. The millipede doesn't have any legs coming out of the final section of its abdomen here. It just sort of stops. The colorization of the millipede is subdued colors, browns, grays, really subdued colors. The centipede, on the other hand, is often brightly colored with red and and all kinds of colors depending on the species. Okay, I'm going to go through here and finish my drawing. Okay, here's the head. So you can tell these aren't insects because, insects have a three-section body. They have a head, a thorax, and an abdomen, and then they have 6 legs. These obviously have a whole different body arrangement. Another interesting fact about both centipedes and millipedes is they don't, this isn't unique in the animal kingdom, but they don't actually hook up to reproduce. The male just leaves a pod of sperm in the rubble, and the female just goes over to it, and it's soaked up. It's soaked up by the body of the female. I mean, they said that they don't have any mechanism for copulation. They're not the only animals that don't have that capability. I mean, most fish don't either. But some fish do. The problem with that, of course, is then there's no selection in the mating process. You just go around looking for sperm packets. Normally animals have rituals they go through in selecting a mate. With birds, the males have extreme plumage and do all kinds of dances, and a couple of species of birds, the male actually builds a nest for the female, and the female will figure out which male built the best nest and she'll select him. Now for humans, our selection process is even simpler. If you have money and you can dance, you can find a mate pretty easy. The number of legs on these things, on the centipede, it can be as few as 30. And, to maybe 300. The name centipede means 100 legs, but none of them have exactly 100 legs. And the millipede, that means 1,000 legs, but none of them have 1,000 legs. The most a millipede can have is like 750 but it varies. As long as there's two sets of legs per section. We're going to make sure we get the coloring right. Remember, the centipede is more brightly colored. With a lot of reds and yellows, which is common in the with animals, brightly colored, especially insects, are with yellow and red on them, is a good indication that they're poisonous. That's how they advertise their poison. And then there's copycats that have developed copycat. There's a kind of snake that does that. I'm going to have to look that up. I can't remember the name of the snake, but there's a snake that has the same markings as it's totally venomous. It's not venomous, but it copies the markings of another snake that is. Yes, they were talking about indigenous people. And I sort of skipped over. I was talking about the advantages that the old world had. You know, you may wonder, you know, why did the old world develop, you know, sophisticated, I mean, not just sophisticated, they're all sophisticated, but advanced, seem to be more advanced than the Polynesians or the Native Americans or the Aborigines or the Pacific Islanders, you know, that would be the same as the Polynesians. Why is that? Well, the New World had a lot of advantage, or the Old World had a lot of advantages. The main one was wheat and rice. We don't think about that, but the original cradle of civilization, they call it the Fertile Crescent. They discovered wheat. Well, they didn't have wheat in the New World or anywhere else. And in Asia, of course, they had rice. Well, you could build a civilization with that, you know. But the people in the New World didn't have that. They also had cows. New World didn't. Now they had pacas and llamas and all that stuff, and they tried to domesticate them, but not the same as a cow. Cows are docile herd animals that will, you know, kind of are not real smart, and they'll stay in a group and they'll domesticate real easy. Not so with, you can't, like buffalo, I guess they kind of put them on a range today, but they're not like cows. They're much faster, smarter. Now the New World people, I'm talking about North America now, North and South America, they had corn. But remember, it wasn't the same corn we have today. You know, this was a little stumpy, you know, stumpy little, you know, little variety that, you know, the original, it's, you know, corn is a New World crop. Now they still were able to, you know, the Incas and the Aztecs and all the empires down there, they were able to build up those empires based on corn. The calories they were getting from corn, which is pretty remarkable, but they're still able to do it. But they were, they didn't have horses. That's another disadvantage. You know, they didn't have any animals to pull the plow. So that's another disadvantage. And there were other disadvantages too. And of course the the Polynesians, they were really hurting. You know, they didn't have anything. It's amazing they. Yeah, what we're doing here is kind of making our centipede a little bit brighter, more colorful than the millipede. I was looking at our drawing from yesterday, and one of the things I left out was the shadow. I didn't have a shadow in there, and I noticed that this morning. So I added that. I also tried to darken up in this portion of his body right here. And I'd also left out the war paint across his nose. I guess I shouldn't go back to these drawings, but I never did get the mud right. Maybe if I add some color like that. Yeah, that looks, add a little texture to his body there. Back to the centipede. These centipedes are venomous, and depending on how allergic you are to, to stings, they can be painful and swell up and all that stuff, but they're not normally lethal to people unless you're really allergic to the toxin, the particular toxin that the centipede is producing, which varies from species to species. There's all kinds of different toxins that insects have. Some of them are neurotoxins affecting nerves. Others block oxygen uptake. Some cause tissues to kind of die. And that's like the brown recluse spider is an example. I'm just doing is sort of adding some texture and some feel to these body sections, leaving some light reflecting. I don't want to make these look round because they're flattened. The body of a centipede is flattened. Its cross section is not round, as in a millipede. So I don't want to give that. I don't want to give that feeling. These animals, both of them, these millipede and the centipede, they live in dark, moist areas, as I said, and the reason is they don't have a hard waterproof shell like insects. They can't. It's harder for them to regulate their their moisture intake into their bodies, and so they'll dry out if they don't stay out of the sun and they don't keep kind of moist. The millipedes are even worse. They lose water even faster. I mean, people actually pick these things up in their hands. They don't. They're like, they don't hunt vertebrates. Warm-blooded animals. They're not going to sting you unless they're really trapped and feel like they're in danger. If they're just sitting freely, they're probably not going to be very aggressive. I'm not suggesting you pick one up, but it's not like they attack you or anything, Let's add a little detail here to the legs. I don't know. I kind of think we're done, don't you? Well, there we have it. Our prompt for December 28th, prompt 144, is Centipede. We actually drew a centipede right here. And we also added a millipede so we could show the difference between the two. Okay, let's check our prompt for tomorrow. Drum roll, please. It is dark alleyway. Eeks. Okay, if you want to see how we do dark alleyway, show up tomorrow. Thanks for watching.